Ah, the courtroom with its brown sofa and two guys. One who's slightly overweight. Good morning, Mr. Wright.
Good morning, Maggie.
So, what do you think is going to happen today, sir? Yesterday's session didn't go so well, and then it ended on a giant mystery. Which happens every...
It's only been a day.
Yeah, remember things right. These things go through quickly, and don't mess around.
Are you okay, Nick?
Huh? Oh, yeah, sure, of course. I saw that little flash of doubt in your eyes. No, it wasn't doubt, that was, determination. Why don't I believe you?
It's nearly time, Maggie. You'd better get going to the defendant's seat.
Roger, don't let me down, Mr. Wright. I'm counting on you. Hey, pal. Hey, Detective Gumshoe. Quit stressing Maggie out. She doesn't need that. How did you know she was stressed? I was watching through the doorway. Oh. You look like you lost the case already. Show a bit of confidence, will you, pal? Here, maybe this'll help. Ooh, nail varnish.
No, I know what that stuff is. Huh? Have you taken up aromatherapy too?
Great little me. Not in a million years, pal. Don't tell me you don't remember this thing. This is a small bottle I turned up at Clabian's kitchen a couple of days ago. I thought back to when I was a waitress. Those heady years. And by years, I mean one day. In fact, I don't think she even lasted a day.
Hours.
Literally hours. I think she was fired, she just kind of left.
Yeah.
It's not being fired if I resign. We finally got the analysis results back from the lab.
So, what is it? Is it the poison?
I'm afraid not, pal. It's medication.
Medication?
Yeah, for ears. Topical use only, apparently. For ears, you mean... Yeah, it's the medication Glenn Elk was using on his ruptured eardrum. Fascinating. The plot thickens. What about the unidentified fingerprints? Anything on that? Someone screwed up, so they had time to analyze the contents of the bottle. Another hour and they might have gotten something on the prints, but... we have to wait until it's dramatically convenient to reveal that. Okay, pal, this is it. Make sure your defense is impregnable today. Got it? No, it's Xenop, whoever is the reverse version is. Oh. We're close, Jeremy the 8th. It's getting there.
Court is now in session for the trial of Maggie Bird.
My defense is ready, Your Honor. Look at his face. This is determination. Steely determination. I'm just gonna stare at him. Make him uncomfortable.
Ready and waiting as always, Your Honor. Very good. Then we'll get underway at once. Yesterday we heard the testimony of Mr. Victor Kudo. He claims to have witnessed the defendant putting a powder into the victim's coffee. However, the witness's testimony was plagued with a number of problems. The mark on the rim of the coffee shows that the victim drank it from his right hand, but according to the old man's testimony, he picked it up with his left hand. Thank you, Mr. Gordo. Furthermore, according to the witness's account, the victim was listening to the radio with an earpiece in his left ear. Yet the victim's left eardrum was ruptured, which made him effectively deaf in that ear. It's amazing how many contradictions a single case can have, huh, Nick?
Oh, here he comes.
Huh. Allow me to enlighten you, Your Honor. The world, you see, keeps turning, and we must turn with it. You've lost me already, Mr. Gordo. Don't let the mysteries of yesterday mystify you today.
I read down the fortune cookie once.
Only losers think like that. You've got to change with the times. That's one of my rules. Are you implying that you will resolve these contradictions? You know the answers to these riddles? Oh, sorry, you know the answers to these riddles? The old guy wasn't there throwing seed in, he was throwing us off the scent. And today I'll prove it. You've got to make sure to read who's talking.
Very well, let the first witness take the stand.
Oh God.
We've got to break him.
And you are? Oh, bonjour everyone, I am Jean Armstrong, the owner and head chef of La Tribulations restaurant. Enchanté!
Forgive me for asking, witness, but are you a woman?
Oh la la, monsieur, as you can see, I'm a pert and pretty gentleman, no?
Oh, Judge is confused.
On the day of the incident, you were in Tradian's kitchen. Isn't that right? With you, monsieur? Everything feels right. Huh.
Very well, your testimony please, witness. Please tell the court what happened that day at Tribulations.
Oui, volontaire. I think it's volontaire. French.
I haven't done French in secondary
I haven't
high
either.
school. So,
When it all happened, there was just 2 customers in my restaurant. I remember I was experimenting with some art decors that like having a loud mirror between the tables, for example. Oui, perhaps that is what the old man was looking at. Le cup, le épices, and the glasses. He would have seen everything in reverse, no?
mirror!
Oui, un grand mirror. La most enormous mirror. Oh, that's a good idea, I thought of that.
I want a mirror. That's the guy.
And suddenly, the mystery disappears.
Like it's a Scooby-Doo episode.
Like Kaiser Soze. Like I said, the world keeps turning, so roll with it.
That'll explain the coffee cup and the earpiece conundrum. The mirror would have made everything appear back to front.
It's like 10 o'clock, like early, man.
Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination.
Woo. How do you wait? Okay, let's break him.
Do you think it's a different rose he's got every time, or is it the same one?
Well, that's like a lot of things there, repeating ones. Wonder where they keep. Well, God, those coffee cup for the sample.
Yeah.
The coffee cup for the earpiece and the HMD. Let's think back over Mr. Creo's testimony for a second, shall we? As much as we all don't want to.
Flashback to yesterday.
Well, at least it's the next last day.
Yeah.
Like flashback to 5 minutes ago. Sometimes not even that. So to summarise,
We had a lot of that last time.
yeah, the old man was full of shit. No, we told both the HMD and the earpiece were on the victim's left side. Now, if Mr. Credo saw all that as a reflection in the mirror, it means both the HMD and the earpiece were actually on the victim's right side.
Exactement, you see, monsieur. Now that you think about it, it is not so hard, no?
That's like having Poirot in the room. Unfortunately, that's where we run into a monumental contradiction with the facts.
Poirot is Belgian.
Yeah, it's the same accent. If Mr. Credo was seeing anything in the mirror.
You should know he's Belgian as well. You're a huge Poirot fan.
Okay, punk. Why, the HMD is now on the wrong side of
Oh,
his
I
head.
thought that's a good thing.
Order!
Right here.
Order! Mr. Wright is correct.
Whoa, he's
If the witness
correct.
genuinely observed the victim reflected in a mirror, then we would expect the victim's eyepiece to have been over his right eye.
Oh,
How bitter. Try it. You should have a taste of this bitterness that will calm you down in no time.
are we talking about your coffee or something completely different? I don't know if he's coming on to me or not.
You don't understand the way the witness thinks.
He doesn't. I thought we established that.
How he thinks.
You remember this, I presume?
I broke the vial. Sorry, apology. Mr. Kudo's form testimony.
Exactly. The old man has one very grievous habit, other than throwing seeds. The more of an impression something makes, the more muddled his mind makes it. And what's the most striking thing about Mr. Elg?
His hat.
Clearly it's the victim's eyepiece.
And that's my point. The old man strikes again. If Mr. Elg's HMD made a big impression on the old man. I saw the earpiece and those newfangled spectacles he was wearing. Oh yes, they were both on his left ear. Do you hear? His left ear.
You got out doing Kim.
Huh. Well tried.
Well, best. It's one of those kind of records.
Wow, I really thought he was old seedy for a minute there. God, it was good. I wasn't even trying.
Enough. I must agree that yesterday's witness was irresponsibly rash in much of his testimony.
Bad luck, Nick. It looks like the boil of a contradiction you found is just a rash. Oh-ho.
Curtis.
A mirror can be beaten by a handful of seeds, nor can it lie. So, what exactly was the old man looking at?
Oh, the waitress.
Fill us in, Mr. Armstrong. Go on. Tell the court. We're all ears.
Well, I drink my glorious coffee over here.
Oui, I can explain. Please, if you could look at the plans of le restaurant.
Which I have with me, conveniently.
Naturellement.
The mirror.
Alors, is everyone sitting comfortably?
Oh, I'm standing.
La mirror, it was in the middle of the restaurant, dividing the two halves. There is only one seat from which you could have seen la victim. That was the seat at the table next to the victims. That was where the old man was sitting. After that terrible incident occurred, I moved the mirror so it's not in the way. But naturally, I did not touch anything else. Lies!
Liar!
I see no problem with the explanation we've just heard.
Oh,
On the table next to the victims, Mr. Kudo could have seen the victim in the mirror.
What a naughty little coquette I am, confusing all the men like this.
In more ways than one.
Don't worry about it. We can keep up, except for the guy breaking out in the cold sweat over there again.
One guy breaking out for a cold sweat. Oh, yeah.
You said you didn't touch anything else apart from the mirror. Are you quite sure about that?
Volunteers, of course.
Very well, Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, if you please.
Ooh, Angry Birds. Who put a mirror in the middle of the room?
That guy.
Well, besides this idiot.
I don't know.
Just like, yeah, why not? That's not gonna confuse anyone. This piece of evidence contradicts with the testimony we just heard, Your Honor.
The crime photo.
Yes, the photo clearly shows something that theoretically should not exist.
What on earth do you mean by that, Mr. Wright?
Should not exist? Sounds like you're describing yourself, Tried.
Aww.
Burn.
Someone's getting air
Now
horn.
then, if the defense would please clarify its statement. What is the something that should not exist in this photo?
The big's hoe. The big's was the thing.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's pretty obvious that vase thing.
Vase? What possible connection could there have been with the witness's testimony?
Your Honor, I'm telling you that there should have been no vase on this table. Because it very clearly contradicts with this piece of evidence. The skewer, of course. There is one thing that was clearly demonstrated by yesterday's testimony. Mr. Kudo broke the vase that was on the table where he was sitting. And yet, as the court can see, there is an unbroken vase on the table next to the victim. Why? Because Mr. Kudo was not, in fact, sitting at a table.
Don't be an idiot, Tried. That's impossible. That seat's the only one Kudo could have seen the victim's reflection from.
Exactly! There is only one conclusion we can draw from this contradiction. There was no mirror in Tribulations that day. Your testimony, Mr. Armstrong, is an elaborate lie.
Mon Dieu!
Everyone who testifies he's lying.
Don't try to confuse the court, Tried. Obviously, the witness cleaned up the vase while the police were taking their time getting to the crime scene.
Unfortunately, Mr. Gordo, that doesn't quite work for me. Mr. Armstrong already testified to the contrary, in his own words. I did not touch anything else except the mirror. That coffee was dreadful.
Well, witness, what do you have to say for yourself?
Good, test ready.
In light of this revelation, we return back to the original problem. Why did the victim have an earpiece in an ear in which he couldn't hear?
Ooh, alright.
You only get one shot in life. There's no turning back. If you want to claim that mirror wasn't there, try it. Then this problem is all yours. How'd you explain what the old man saw?
He was hallucinating, though.
Are you going to be okay? Can you really solve this contradiction, Nick?
There's more than just one contradiction, Maya.
What do you mean?
I mean, there's more than one. What part of that didn't you get? Remember what Maggie told us? No, not really. There was another man at the victim's table. And there was a sample CD on the victim's table. It all flies in the face of Mr.
It all files in the face.
Damn it, that's can't be right.
That's not a phrase.
That doesn't work.
Well, Mr. Wright, let's hear your answer.
Yes, Your Honor. The reason behind all the contradictions in Mr. Kudo's testimony is simple. The man's an idiot. A phony. The case is riddled with contradictions. Yet there is one very simple answer that clears them all up.
And what is that?
The incident Mr. Kudo witnessed and the incident the victim experienced were two completely different events.
What?
Yes, the victim that Mr. Kudo saw wasn't Mr. Glenn Elg at all. It was an imposter, a phony pretending to be Mr. Elg. Obviously, unlike the victim, there was nothing wrong with the imposter's left eardrum. That's how he ended up wearing the earpiece in his left ear by mistake. It's tea. Who gave me tea?
Order! Order in the court. Settle down or I'll clear the courtroom.
Quiet, Crimes. Why don't you clear out of here, huh?
What did you just say?
God, you idiot.
Tried. Are you saying that what Mr. Kudo saw was a setup?
Yes. That's all I got. Someone pretended to be Glenn Elg and knocked out the whole coffee poisoning. All for the express purpose of creating a witness out of one Mr. Victor Kudo.
Get real, Tried. Why would anyone want to do that?
Because criminals have waiters' time on their hands. Isn't it obvious? In my Superman post again.
Or Peter Pan.
Either way, they must look just the same. It's called sugar.
It's so hard to believe, but...
There was one and only one reason to show Mr. Kudo this fake poisoning. To show Maggie Bird in the act of poisoning the coffee.
Are you insinuating that the waitress in the old man's story was a fake as well? It's true there were no other customers in the restaurant at the time, but... it's also true that the chef was there. He would have noticed what was happening.
That's right. Well, witness, if your restaurant really was the scene of such theatrics, you would have known about it, correct?
Oh la la, this is most difficult for me.
No, it's quite simple. All you have to do is testify. You are under oath after all. Was there in fact a phony at Tribulations that day? The defense demands that Mr. Armstrong tell the whole truth about what happened.
The defense's request for the additional testimony is accepted. You will accurately explain in detail the events in the restaurant that day.
Oui. La victim, Monsieur Elg, came to my restaurant alone. I remember the old man arrived not long after him. There were no other customers. When he got word he had won the lottery, Monsieur Elg became very excited. It was approximately 5 minutes later that the poisoning incident occurred. No, there was no time for the phony to do the acting.
Just so we're clear, there was no mirror in the restaurant after all.
Je vous demande pardon, forgive me, your honor. I lied because I wanted this mess to be cleared up quickly.
What you've just done is commit perjury, Mr. Armstrong. I will decide how to punish you later.
Oui.
For now, we will hear your cross-examination, Mr. Wright.
But too well. In the restaurant. No. By old man, you mean Victor Kudo, correct?
Oui, it comes from my special coffee. I drank your coffee once, Mr. Armstrong. It's special, I'll give you that. It's worth a sip just for the experience. Oh, you make me so happy, monsieur. You are most welcome any time. I said it was worth one sip and nothing more. Ooh.
Alright. He's on form. Out of curiosity, about what time was it when Mr. Kudo arrived?
Oh, no, I cannot remember, monsieur.
I believe we were told by a witness yesterday.
Oh, George's memory came back.
Does that perhaps jog your memory, witness?
I believe in the witness. The incident happened about 20 minutes after he arrived, so the victim must have arrived between 2 p.m. and 2:10, no? I thank you for your help in jogging my memory, monsieur. You are wonderful.
I can't sit here all the time and do nothing now, can I?
Leading the witness, though.
The time of day would be added to the witness's testimony.
Oui, monsieur judge, everything I do it for you.
Merci bien. That's French, isn't it?
He's even humming a song to himself. That'd be Bryan Adams, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Do, do. I'm afraid I finally got you, Mr. Armstrong.
Quoi? What do you mean?
At the time in question, the victim was listening to the radio with his earpiece. The show he was listening to was Millionaire Radio. Each week they announced their win number of $500,000 lottery ticket.
Oui, that must have been the show Monsieur Egg was listening to.
I can't see any problem with this testimony, Mr. Wright.
I wonder... Oh, as soon as the music kicked in. You say the victim arrived at the restaurant after 2 p.m., correct?
Oui, I am sure of it. I remember it perfectly now. I know it was that time because I had just finished serving the lunch menu. Get to the point, Wright, if you have one.
That show is broadcast live at 1:30 p.m. and it claims to be the most thrilling 10 minutes of your life.
It's on the air at 1:30.
Now, supposedly the victim made some noise when it was announced he had won. And yet, I don't believe his cry of joy could have occurred after 2 p.m. Because the show had already finished more than 30 minutes earlier by that point in time.
No!
The victim will have been told about has done nothing but that. Listen to the radio with a ruptured eardrum. Catching this show that was already over. There's only one conclusion we could draw from these facts. The victim was an imposter, acting out the poisoning 30 minutes after the real murder. Yes, there were two Glen Elgs in Fabian that day. The real Glen Egg, now dead, having been poisoned by the real killer. and the phony Glenelg acting out events for Mr. Kudo to witness.
It certainly seems that way. I mean, if it wasn't the case, how could you explain the time discrepancy?
Quite a performance, Wright. You were almost on a roll. But sadly, you lack the rock-hard foundation of rhythm to build your song.
I challenge you to a dance-off. Let's do it.
Let's recap. According to your imaginative theory, it's now just after 2 p.m. The phony elk is performing a play for the benefit of Mr. Kudo. How do you explain then where the real Glen Elk is?
I don't believe I have to spell this out for the court. However, at that time the real Glenelg was already
That's
dead.
certainly the obvious conclusion.
Thank you, Wright. That's exactly what I was hoping you would say.
What?
Now I presume you can prove this theory of yours? Can you explain where the missing corpse went to?
The missing corpse. It walked away.
According to the old man's testimony, there was only one other customer there. That customer was the phony Glen Elk. And where did the killer hide the body of the real victim?
The prosecution has a valid point, Mr. Wright. If your theory is to stand up to examination by the court, you must provide us with the proof by answering the prosecution's question. Where did the killer hide the body?
Yes, Your Honor.
No conjecture, Wright. Let's hear some facts for once. Show the court a piece of evidence that proves where the body was hidden.
Evidence?
What's with the intense pressure in here all of a sudden?
Well, Mr. Wright, the court will now hear the defence's theory and witness. First, where was the body of the real Mr. Elk concealed?
It would have been too dangerous to take the body outside. Obviously, the body must have been hidden somewhere inside Tribune.
But where could you have hidden a body inside the restaurant? Perhaps you would care to show the court on these plans, Mr. Wright.
Yes, Your Honor. You ever had that lunch menu? No. The exact location the body was concealed inside Tribune is... They were eating him. The body was hidden here.
Nice supposition. But the real question is, can you back it up? Where's the evidence that proves the body was hidden in that location?
Mr. Armstrong, do you recognize this bowl?
No. I've never seen that ugly bottle before in my life. I only use the best bottles, monsieur. The highest quality.
Where was that bottle found, Mr. Wright?
Interestingly enough, Your Honor, it was found in the kitchen of Tribune.
Eh? Quoi? But I only use these bottles for my aromatherapy oils.
But this bottle doesn't contain aromatherapy oil, Mr. Armstrong. No, it contains the medication.
What kind of medication?
I'm sure everyone remembers, don't they? That Mr. Elk visited a clinic and was given medication that day.
Autologerical.
That's the
You
word.
can't be serious.
The event had the contents of the bottle analysed, and I have the lab results here. The content of the bottle matched the prescription that was given to Mr. Elk. Glenelg's murderer hid the body in the restaurant kitchen, at which time this bottle fell out of the victim's pocket. Mr. Armstrong, when the incident occurred, didn't you say you were in the kitchen?
Mon Dieu.
Yes, you know what I'm about to say. It was you who hid the victim's body. You did a fine job pretending to defend my client, Maggie Bird. However, I'm on to you. You were setting her up to take the fall behind the poor girl's back.
No!
It's also going against food standards.
Yeah, now there on that, you don't want to miss
Witness,
those guys.
did you murder Glen Elk?
Never!
Only
I could
if-
not do such an horrible thing.
Oh, someone's about to take off. It's not good for you to do coffee like
Mr.
that.
Gordo.
You won't.
The bitterness. Every time I get lied to, I always down a mug of coffee. That's one of my rules.
Killing him already.
I'm wondering how much coffee is in that mug there. He was able to down it and there was still a lot to come up.
Yeah.
But I like to do the same
never
to a
ends.
person who lied to me. I like to take them down with my empty cup. Listen up, chef. How about a brand new flavor in your ear of my H...
Oh, je vous demande pardon, please, you must hear me out. It is a trap. Listen to me, por favor.
Yo hablo español, Mr. Armstrong, but por favor is Spanish.
Judge, language expert.
I'm going to ask you once. Did you do it?
No, absolutely no. I
Let's hear it. You've got one shot. Right, Gramps?
Witness. The court will permit you the chance to make one final statement. If you lie under oath again, Mr. Gordo's coffee mug awaits you. As does my gavel.
For gavel at him.
Oui, it is clear.
Very well. Begin your final testimony, Mr. Armstrong.
Ever.
Didn't know gavels can make that sound. It is true,
Yes.
I hid the body in the kitchen. A man forced me to do it. I had no choice. I had to go along with him because there was a reason why I could not refuse. But I did not kill him. I swear it. You must believe me.
Never loaded a gavel.
You were forced? By who?
I cannot say, or I will be erased.
Let's try a different question then. When Mr. Elk died, was he really the only person at his table?
There was... There was another man.
Maggie was telling the truth.
You may cross-examine the witness now, Mr. Wright.
Break him. Let's end this dance of Ring Around the Rosie, Mr. Armstrong. This is the man that you've been referring to.
Ah,
Who is that? I feel like I've seen him somewhere before.
The man is Furio Tigre. He's the manager of a loan office called Tenderlender. There's no point trying to hide the truth anymore, Mr. Armstrong. I know you couldn't go against Mr. Tigre, at least not while he had this on you. A $500,000 loan from a black market loan shark. You had no way of paying it back, did you? That's why you were forced to do anything this man told you.
oui, it is how you say.
Mr. Armstrong.
The tagger, he told me he was going to use my restaurant for a business rendezvous. On the day in question, he was meeting the victim to demand that he repay his loan. I don't know why it happened like that. I just did what he told me to do. I had no choice. I carried the body and the unconscious Maggie out of the dining area and into the kitchen. After that, I just tried to forget what I had seen.
I think we can now safely say that the man who forced your hand was Mr. Furio Tigre.
I do have one further question for you, Mr. Armstrong. The poisoned lottery ticket were recovered from the defendant's apron pocket. Was that your doing as well?
No, I knew nothing about that. Making it look like it was Maggie that done it, I was not. It is despicable.
Mr. Godot, you will summon this Furio Tigre as a witness. I doubt that can be arranged today, so we will adjourn for now. Proceedings will continue tomorrow.
30 minutes.
What?
The trial will go on. I'll see to it myself. I need half an hour to get that guy on the stand. Not a minute more.
How the...
Don't sit back and relax yet, try it. No one knows if that chef is really telling the truth or not. This trial could still go either way.
Up, down, left, right.
Very well. Your request is granted, Mr. Godot. We will resume once Mr. Tigre is ready to take the stand. Till then, court is adjourned for a 30-minute recess.
You can think about what you've done.